I'm a gamer, but I'm also a person. I feel I've also lost a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Because I forgot who was Juan and who was HBox.
Yeah.
And I lost track of my ego, especially in my early 20s. And I do feel that cost me a lot of friendships. And I think I had to learn and go through that process and understand that there's a lot more to this than just what I have done and what you've accomplished, and who there's a lot more to the W.
Hungrybox, the GOAT, the legend. If any of you have grown up with any awareness of Smash, this is the king right here.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
very kind of you.
The number one. We are going to play, this game's called We're Not Really Strangers.
Okay.
The New York Times did a study. One, it was called 36 Questions to Fall in Love.
Oh, wow.
They did a study where they brought together these randomly grouped pairs of people and they ran them through these questions. And they're all meant to develop intimacy, vulnerability, being real with each other.
Bring our walls down.
Exactly. A lot of this pair of it, man, they became friends. Some of them, one of them even became a couple.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It
Eric,
gets real.
I'm ready, Eric.
So here's the way I think of it. Everyone knows you as Hungrybox. They know a certain side of you, but I've had the privilege of getting to know you as an actual human being. And today, maybe everybody else is going to get to see a little bit of that too. Yeah, you down?
I'm very down for this.
All right, so we're going to get intimate. So
let's get into the box.
the way it works, we have 3 levels of questions.
Okay.
So we're going to start with level 1.
Gotcha.
Then we're going to go to level 2. Then we're going to go to level 3.
And those are like increasing intensities?
Exactly. Just a little bit more personal. So we're going to take turns, right?
Okay.
And so the way it works, in order to decide who picks a question first, we play a little mini game. We're going to do eye contact.
Eye contact.
Yeah, we're going to look deeply into each other's eyes.
Okay.
And then whoever blinks first has to draw the first card. Does that sound good?
I just blinked.
You did just blink. All right, I guess. Yo, dude, you moved the microphone away. I was excited. You know, no one's actually legitimately, no one's been like, oh yeah, like this is serious. I was like,
you know what? I wouldn't. The competitive person in me wants to run it back, but I won't. It's not integrity. No Johns.
To go. So,
All right, nice.
you blinked first. You're going to do the honors. Pick a question from category 1 here.
Level 1, perception.
All right.
Do you think I've ever been fired from a job? If so, what for?
No, because back in the early days, those who were watching, they don't remember, before we even had YouTube, we had DC++. Where we had streaming, it was just going to basements and playing on CRTs. You were there. And you've been gaming, you've been playing since an early age. In fact, I don't think it was about going to job and getting fired. It's, I think, where we come from, once upon a time, it was hard even just to find a full-time thing in Smash. And so I remember you went and did work, I think as a chemical engineer or at a plant. And I don't think you were fired. I think when the scene finally grew up to match its potential, you chose to leave because you could now see how to support yourself full-time doing what you loved. I don't think you were fired. I think you just quit. Am I right? Am I right? Or have you actually been fired before?
When it comes to me leaving my career and all that to be focusing on Smash and content, you are right. That was my choice and all that. But I was fired.
No!
For my very first job ever.
What was your first job ever?
Working at Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's with the hoagies, the sandwiches?
Yeah.
Wait, tell me more. Why were you fired? What happened?
I worked there for an entire week. It was my first job in college. Just wanted to make some extra money for my textbooks or whatever. This is before Smash got even that big for me.
Yeah.
And I had to go to a conference I was in an a cappella group, and it was so much fun. I went to North Carolina. We drove up, and I got a call in the middle of a concert. The guy's like, why aren't you here? And I'm like, oh, I'm at a conference. I put my name on the take my shift list. He's like, oh, okay. Well, no one took it, so don't bother coming back.
So you was fired.
And I told all my friends, and we all just celebrated and drank that night. And it was the best firing at all. To my boss at Jimmy John's, huge piece of you're the biggest I've ever met in my life, and that's not conductive to any work environment ever. Be more like Steve Arnset. Thank you.
I love it. A message to all the bad bosses out there.
I don't get why bosses are mean. It does nothing. It does nothing at all. It's the stupidest thing you can do.
Here's a question, right? Like, you've grown to a point where you also work with people. You work with editors, you work with contractors. Do you think you're a good manager?
I think I am. I think I could be better.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like you're put into that role. All of a sudden, you realize that you are managing a few people, right?
Yeah.
I definitely have someone who helps me with my streams, someone who helps me with YouTube. I have, obviously managers, but also people that I need requests of at Liquid. So when I do that, I always make sure I don't ask too much of them, right? I'm always saying I don't need this. I'm like, hey, if you have time for this, let me know. If you do, we can work something out. If not, don't worry. I'll find someone who has more time in schedule. I never want to overpress or overstress anybody, and I always know how to find the right people who have just enough availability to do that.
So you said you think overall you're good. You said you think there are things you could be better in. What are those things you could be better at?
I think in terms of when you look at content as a whole, there's so many things you could be doing all at once. You can't just sandbox yourself into one thing, just Twitch, just YouTube, just gaming. And you think, how big can I get, or how many things can I do? And you see a lot of these other guys who started out as gamers going into variety. And I'm always wondering, if I am my own manager, do I need to be bringing more people onto my team? Do I need to be asking more questions about that? Or should I just perfect what I'm already inside of? So I do feel that, there's a reason teams exist, not individuals, because you get exponentially more things done with the proper
So
team.
you're thinking about, hey, to scale myself, I got to bring on more people, or just double down what I'm doing. That's the sort of things you think about.
Yeah.
And so what you want to get better at is figuring out when's the right time to pull people in, or what?
I think so. How many to pull in, maybe how far to stretch my budget in that sense, or maybe put all my budget into it in the hopes that, kind of pulling like a Mr. Beast, right? Guy seems to not funnel, but he puts all the money he makes right back into his content and for this huge, massive risk and investment. But now clearly it paid off, because I just realized he's trying to evaluate himself at
He's trying to raise
billion.
$150 million, $1.5 billion.
Incredible.
So what blew my mind, so I visited the Mr. Beast warehouse and team in North Carolina a couple of weeks ago. And first of all, it's a company. It's got over 100 people. Second of all, Jimmy, Mr. Beast, he's hired executive staff. He has a CEO, a CFO. And he's built a culture where even though he's not the one there all the time, the people he work with know how he thinks. And so they know how to create content according to his style. So I think the question is, in a way, you are CEO of Hungrybox, the media empire.
Right.
Actually.
And I do in the future see that being a thing one day, like a box co, whatever you want to call it.
Box co.
There's a lot of things.
All right.
There's a lot of things you can do when you think about it. Right now, I'm very thankful to be with Team Liquid, and that team has given me everything I could ask for. I've also got many ideas and understood the structure of how things work. And I'm not surprised at all that you said when Mr. Beast hires people, they're like-minded. That means he sat down with them. He interviewed them. He understood or had people that he trusts from a long time ago because they had the same vision as him.
He has a culture document. It's a Google Doc over 25 pages of him just writing out the precepts of what it's like to join the Beast team and how you got to think.
That's amazing. Yeah,
he took the time to write that down.
Yeah, company culture isn't like a thing that we need to have a culture statement. It's no. It's just this is there's no company without the culture behind it, the vision behind it.
So for you, all right, say Box LLC happens, right? What's the number one thing you want to launch that you're not doing right now?
My God, I really do think there's this concept of. This might be a little outside the box, right? Ooh. But there's a concept of something called third place.
Okay.
A first place is where you live, where you sleep, and where you relax. A second place is where you work, your office. The third place is where you go to not be at home, but also to not be at work. It's where you go to be happy, where you go to socialize, where you go to enjoy yourself, right? For a lot of people, that might be a bar, might be tournaments, it might be volleyball or something after you work, or maybe just hanging out with some friends, playing board games. It's so many things it could be, right? Over the pandemic, tell me that the first, second, and third place didn't all become the same all of a sudden. Everyone started working from home. Everyone could only hang out from home, and everyone was stuck at home, their first place. So now that things are kind of winding down, I realize there's a big issue with mental health when it comes to people who are in the social media industry, in gaming and all that, right? A lot of people turn to these to feel better, to be happy, and they don't really have a place, I feel sometimes, where they can be accepted and just go to with no event needed, no prerequisite, just to go and to be happy, to enjoy themselves, to socialize, to be outside of a lonely environment to be happier. And I think
I love that.
I've struggled with that too, especially through high school and college. And I feel like if that became a thing, maybe it's just called third place.
Yeah.
It has events every single day. It has something for everyone where they can always feel invited and loved. I feel like that would help a lot because between us, you know how cigarettes in the 60s were like everyone was doing because it was cool. And then 50 years later, we're like, no, these cause cancer. But back then, we had no idea how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
To me, as useful as it is, I do think this is our cigarettes. And I do think in 30 to 40 years, there's going to be studies showing the amount of mental damage that social media has done to a lot of us. Yeah.
One, I love that mission.
Yeah.
Third place.
Yeah, third place.
Second, so for you, how do you balance that? Because like when you, for example, we were at the Ludwig Invitational, right? I saw you play. Everyone there knows who you are and they have an image, a perception,
right,
an expectation of you. Your career in many ways is tied.
It is.
To this. So how, when you feel stressed, like how do you handle that? What's your third place?
Well, for a long time, my third place was Smash.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It was my favorite thing to do, my favorite hobby. I'd invite friends over. I'd travel to different cities. I still travel to different cities to go to events. It is truly my passion to compete, and I feel most like myself on that stage. But now that I've made it my work, I think my third place is everything else outside of Smash that doesn't have to be it. Maybe going to see a friend, maybe going to see a concert, maybe listening to music, maybe trying a new thing, maybe being invited to a podcast because I never do that. And want to try that.
Like right here, and we're gonna play pickleball right after.
We are,
yeah.
and that's the third place. I was gonna stream today to work, and I said no, I'm not gonna stream today. I want to.
Dude, Juan, I feel so honored to hear you describe. Hey, here's something I can do for fun, just to hang. And I want to say for myself, I identify with so much of that. I feel stressed and lonely half the time. And because so much of the work I do, I'm always on.
Right.
Like when I was at the Ludwig Invitational for you, first of all, yeah, Smash for me was also my third place growing up. So it felt special to be there and see how much the scene has grown. Like once upon a time, people looked down at us for just playing video games. And now it's a production. It's an industry. And so I felt happy to be there. And for me, it wasn't just, hey, I'm here to play some friendlies and have a good time. It also was like, oh, but I have clients here. I have people I know. There's potential business partners. At one point, I was playing a friendly set with somebody, and we were talking about working together from business context at the same time. He's three-stocking me.
The middle ground.
Yeah. And so, like, it's so funny you said that because for me, the reason why I do this pickleball, it's for the same purpose. Like, dude, I am tired. Sometimes I just want to hang and have fun and just like vibe.
You know, but like the 5 wealths, I think that's what it's called.
What's that?
Everyone thinks you're rich if you have a lot of money, like wealth.
Yeah.
But there's 4 other ways to like be like rich. There's a wealth of time, because if you have no time, you don't have that either. There's a wealth of friends and people around you. There's a wealth of health. If you have all the money in the world, but you're not healthy, you ain't got nothing because you're not gonna have much longer. And then there's family and love and relationships.
Juan, I'm so impressed. Time, wealth,
friends, money,
and family.
Family, yeah.
That you remembered all 5.
Honestly, I feel like I have made more wealth for myself coming here and playing pickleball, hanging out than streaming today. You got to balance all 5.
Brother.
Yeah.
I feel so grateful to hear that. I've never heard of this 5 wealth thing, but I have realized unconsciously, like, man, sure, I'm always on, I'm always doing work. We got to meet each other in a business context. And I have to figure out how to build the personal relationships in context too, where you and I can just go kick it. Because otherwise I'm going to go crazy. And I feel like for you, it's even more so because you are a competitor.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows how much you like to win and how seriously you take it.
You have to like to win. You have to want to win.
You gotta want it. And to hear you also say, I think that's powerful for everybody watching who thinks to win and be number one, you have to be on all the time. Nah, you can be even more successful if you're building wealth in the other areas of your life.
That's what I mean. And this whole October specifically, I usually, you stream, you have metrics like, oh, how many hours did you hit, right? I'm going to usually hit between 100 and 150 hours per month, which is like pretty good, right? I do like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, something like that.
Yeah.
Ish. This month, it was this week. I just got to LA and I would only hit like 25 hours a whole month because I had been at Ludwig's, I had been in Brazil,
Yeah.
I had been here and there and everywhere and doing all this. But man, I'm so happy that I did. You know, I'm so glad. I'm like, yes, I would trade that any time at all. And yeah, I was lucky too and thankful because even when I was at like TwitchCon, I had my agency. Here's an activation for you, so you can still like make something while you're here. And I felt so thankful to still be able to progress in that sense while helping out myself in a personal sense.
See, I love that. You're setting forth a new model of how to be a competitor, how to be a winner. It's to look at it holistically across everything you do.
Eric, I can play Smash every day, 12 hours a day, grind it out all the time to prepare for a tournament. And if I go in and I'm feeling stressed, having a bad day, I might get 7th place.
Wow.
I've had times, and this might sound like bragging, but it's not. It's just literally how my brain works. I did not play Smash for an entire week.
Yeah.
And instead, I just spent time with family and friends and hung out. Not one game for a week. I flew to a tournament called Riptide this year.
Yep.
I got 1st place.
Huge.
I did not practice all
story.
week.
That's mastery to know yourself well.
It's because everyone's brain works differently. I'm not saying that's what everyone should do.
No, but for you.
For me, I can only play a perfect if I'm happy. That's it.
When do you feel, you talked about 3rd place and you said in college and earlier, sometimes you didn't feel like you had that. And for you, it was Smash, right?
Yeah.
And, when I was in college, I was super depressed. That's why I got into Smash. I just kept watching tons and tons of combo vids.
Yeah.
Right? Because I was distracted. But eventually, I also learned about the community, and you find everyone else who's talking about this.
And when you go and you drive, or just hopefully if you're on a campus, you walk to that, wherever they're doing it. To me, it was Turlington Hall at the University of Florida. Wow. And you walk in and you see 100 people in a lecture hall just playing on setups, and you realize I can sit down and talk to any of these people because there's already a shared interest. The ice has already been broken, and right now we're chilling. You know what I mean?
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like this is something I've been grateful to get to know this side of you over the past year. Dude, you have so much fire. You also have so much love to give.
I try, man. And when people don't give you that love, you have to kind of make it like come from yourself, I think. And that got me through like the pandemic, and when I started becoming a lot bigger on content and streaming, a lot of it was me needing that distraction. People are always thanking me like, thank you for making this content, for always streaming each day to get us through this hard, boring time, for me to be crazy on stream and screaming and going through these tournament runs. But really, I should be thanking them because they kept me sane.
Yeah,
I needed
both
that.
of that.
I needed that. Yeah.
Dude, that's beautiful. All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna
I just for one question.
We don't even need to do level 1 here. We're gonna go.
I forgot we were doing that.
So, I mean, Juan, the real reason I like this, it's the same way. It's like you sit down, you play a set with someone, you can just talk to them. I see this the same way. This is fun for me. I like doing this.
Yes.
Because it's like a way for me and you to get to know each other better using this as a framing device.
The frame.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the point
and more
is
the painting.
questions.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do it.
Here's another one. This is level 2, by the way. We're going a little deeper. What is something you wouldn't want to change about yourself?
My competitiveness.
Ooh, that fire. Okay. All right, tell me, where did that come from?
Dude, I don't know. I think I was just little, and I'd be in like 5th grade, and they're like doing like, there was a challenge in 5th grade. Everyone has to bring a small object from their house and put 100 of them in a row. Whoever has the longest line wins the big candy jar. And I brought toothpicks. Some kids brought Cheerios. Some kids bought pennies, quarters. I brought toothpicks because they were just long enough to be a long object, but just small enough to be a small object. And I won. I had the longest.
You remember
stick.
That. You won.
I did. But there was a kid who brought, I don't know, maybe it was like a playing card or something, or Monopoly money. And I got worried. I'm just like, I don't know. He might win, and I'm not about that. So it was just like I realized, but it's so not. It doesn't matter. It's just it's a jar of candy in 5th grade. But for some reason, the W for me just was so important. I don't know if it's like a traditional thing rooted. Humans have been playing sports since the way back when, right? Yep. Competition has always been rooted in culture and tradition. Mm-hmm. Maybe not for some people. For some, it means a lot. So I don't know. I'm Argentinian.
I love that.
So it's in my blood to be a soccer fanatic, even though I'm not really following it. Right. But that fanaticism,
fanaticism,
sure, whatever that is, that I realized was still there. It just got put in something very strange called Smash Bros.
That you expressed your fire, but it could have been something else.
Yep, it could have been. I was holding a torch at all times.
I get that.
Yeah.
I feel like for me too, I also like to win. I hate losing.
I think anyone who starts a company from ground up is.
I mean, I think even broader. I think anyone who we went our own paths.
Yeah, trailblazed.
I think anybody who's doing their own thing, you gotta have that fire, that sort of irrational. Like we're a little screwed up, man. Because what makes a person want to just go and do something so different and so hard?
Because they realize what is normal is not worth it.
Yes. I think for me, man, growing up, I had Asian parents. Like winning was a prerequisite to feeling love.
That's that culture. I will say that is part of like the culture.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like that's hard. That's rough.
Did you feel and experience that yourself?
My mom always wanted me to do well in school. I'm from an Argentinian background.
Yeah.
If I was messing up in school, obviously it was not good. But the best part was I was like 13 years old. And for the first time, I looked at my mom and I said, I love you, but please do not tell me to do my homework anymore. Because I'm already doing it. Because I want this actually more than you want this.
Young Hungrybox. Young box.
Because I'm competitive. And I said, Mom, like, I get it. But trust me, you don't got to worry about it. Because I really want to like be rank 1 in school. And then in college, I fucked up and I was like, okay.
Yeah, but you found a different way to express it. So for me, I never had the ability. I think what you did there, you also drew a boundary.
Yeah.
Right? You said, Mom, look, I love you. And you have to give me the space. Because I think part of why you want to do something is you want to do it. When someone else is telling you to do it,
or pressuring you for it,
it saps your motivation.
And she understood, and bless her heart, she raised me the right way to kind of be in that way. And I remember positive reinforcement. Whenever I did something well, she would be so happy. She wouldn't say like, good, now do it again. She would be like so happy. She'd take me out to pizza. She'd, just the things I love the most for doing well. And I've always loved that about that. And so the concept you were saying, how to be a good manager or leader, if someone does something really well, tell them, God, you're so good at this.
Yeah.
You're so good at this. Like one of my favorite people who does work for me, I would say work together, is Chia, my editor for YouTube. She grew our YouTube channel from 18K subscribers to 500,000.
I just saw 500K.
Yeah, and that was her leading her group, but basically reporting to me directly, doing everything with me, and I'm very thankful for her. And
What's the last compliment or positive affirmation you've given? Can you remember what that was?
The last compliment I've given, it was when I was in Vegas, and it was with my buddy Lewis, who was my old coach, Crunch.
Yeah.
And he's been grinding poker now, right?
Wow.
And I said, like, he told me for the first time he was up $1,000 because he'd been studying and working with a pro player who was there.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, you're so freaking good at anything strategic. You've been so good at Magic, so good at Yu-Gi-Oh, so good at strategizing. It's like at home, like I'm not surprised at all that you're gonna get hooked on poker because you have like the mind for it. You're so fucking smart at it. You know what I mean? So I told him that.
And I'm gonna turn that around and say, because you're sharing this affirmation with other people, what's a compliment for you that you wish you heard more? Some compliment you feel like people don't recognize, they don't say.
Level 3 one.
Yeah, we're just going straight into it, man.
Oh wow. I wish people would say not something like, "Oh, you're so good at Smash," or "Oh, you're so talented at this," something like that. With regards to the gaming, I wish it was more so like, "I always think of you when I think of this. I always remember you if I think of this. You remind me to do something good today." Something like that, I think, means a lot more than being reminded of.
Oh yeah, you're great in Smash, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's more
because you're commenting like Juan there. I feel not really like HBox, I guess.
Yeah. So for Juan, you're saying when you say, I want you to think of me, and because you thought of me, it helped you do this. Did I understand that right?
Yeah. I mean, I noticed something with you just now too. I can tell you, like, man, Karat's going great. Your company is awesome. Man. But I know that when I told you and I said that you invited me to your podcast was my 3rd place today, that touched you.
Oh yeah,
way more.
That meant so much more, man.
And you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot more. We have our careers, we have our pasts, we have our boxes, we know what we're doing. So to see like a flower grow in a garden that we weren't that was empty for a long time means a lot more.
So in a way, it's really that recognition of you as Juan, not as HBox.
As a human. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's very simple. I'm a gamer, but I'm also a person. Sometimes I forget the two are mutually inclusive.
Man, I'm feeling love for you, dude, right now. That's such a open, vulnerable thing to share. To say everyone sees me as HBox. Everyone sees me as a winner. But I want them to also see me as just Juan, a human being.
Yep. That means a lot more. For sure.
Damn, man. Whew. That was spicy. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go on level 3?
I'm ready, man.
Do you think of yourself as Juan or Hungrybox most of the time?
Juan. But if I'm on camera, I'm HBox, right? I'm not saying, like, when you're on camera and you're on stage, are you going to ham it up a bit? Sure, you're going to ham it up a bit, right? It's entertainment. It's good. I was a thespian in college and whatnot. But a lot of the times when people see me pop off or people see me get angry at something, no, that's just real. That's just like both of them together. Like, if I win a close set, I jump up and I scream because I'm releasing, like, tension that's been built up the entire time. And, like, you know, to me, that's something that even I've had, even since 5th grade, Juan, competitive Juan has had, you know?
On that note of something around you, Juan, the vulnerability that you are sharing is so powerful. To say, hey, I want people to see me as a person, to say I want to feel that love, I want to just take a moment and be like, that's a level of emotional awareness that I've only started to get to myself.
Yeah.
Like, I still think of myself as I'm Eric. I do Karat. This is how people recognize me. This is the value I bring to them. And to hear you say that inspires me, be like, yeah, man, I'm scared that I can't build relationships outside of my work. And that it's, how can I make value in people's lives without just, hey, I can do this for you.
Yeah.
And I just want to share, I feel comfortable saying that because of you taking that step forward and just opening yourself up first.
Sure, man.
And that is powerful.
Of course. And, you know, you as someone leading a business like Karat, like, a lot of times when you are doing business, right?
Yeah.
When you're meeting new people, you're trying to skirt the line between how much of this is a deal, but how much of this do I actually, like, genuinely want to know you as a person? Because you can't do business with someone that you trust. You can't trust someone without liking them and knowing them in the first place.
And they're tied together.
And they are. They really are.
And that can, like, for example, you and I, we have a business relationship and we have a personal relationship. And they're tied together and they're separate. And what I'm focusing now is that personal relationship between you and me. I'm like, wow, I feel like I understand you better.
You ever sat down and realized everything, you take a person and all their amazing, you know, qualities, all their flaws, and you realize everything you see everywhere around you that's not nature was made by a beautiful and flawed person. This microphone stand, this logo from Shure, this table, this board game. There's every tiny bit of a flaw may or may not come into that. Maybe the curvature of the logo reminded someone of a sunset he saw when he was 5. How do we know? We don't. But everything is made by people, and that's the most insane part about it. Because can you trust one person to do everything perfect? No, you can't. Can you trust a company, a team? Maybe more so, and that's because they've gotten every person's talents and individual strengths and filtered them into the right places. And that's why I said earlier, it's like an exponential improvement on things in general. But you and I here being one-on-one, you know, we're just talking.
We're just talking.
Like people. But that's exactly what makes us special.
Do you feel that a lot of people in your life right now see you as Juan over Hungrybox?
Well, it depends what you define by a lot of people in my life. Who is really in my life and who isn't?
When every day, right, your day-to-day life, and you think about the people that you talk and spend time interact with, do you feel like you get to talk with people who know you as Juan, not just as HBox?
Sure.
That's good.
A lot of them, if they get to know me, it's right there. I feel I've also lost a lot of friends
Yeah.
because I forgot who was Juan and who was Hbox.
Yeah.
And I lost track of my ego, especially in my early 20s. And I do feel that cost me a lot of friendships. And I think I had to learn and go through that process and understand that there's a lot more to this than just what I have done and what you've accomplished, and who there's a lot more to the W. As much as I love it, as much as that's what I want more than anything, sometimes it's really not about who wins it, but what it took and what you learned to get there.
Yeah, what I'm hearing in a weird way, the W is meaningful because it's just an imperfect measure of everything that went into it. Like what you put into it and who you are, that's why the W matters, not the W itself as much.
It's the devil between the details.
Yeah.
Between the dash lines and the records and all that. Wow. There's so much story and life and just real life. Because behind people are lives. And the only way you get a result are W and an L. And for every time that someone wins, someone has to lose. That's the perfect and ironic balance of the world when it comes to anything competitive. Someone has to lose if someone has won. Sometimes it's you too.
Right.
And a lot of the times, you know how strong a competitor is not because of how much they won, but how they handle themselves after a loss.
Right.
That's a huge thing that I learned, especially when I fell off the ranks in the pandemic.
That really resonates with me too, because I used to grow up like, hey, I have to win, right? I have to get into Harvard. I have to work at XYZ companies. And sometimes I wouldn't, right? I'd fail.
Right.
I get bad outcomes. I wouldn't get the thing I'd want. And I take it so personally. And I've realized more and more over time, I got so scared of the potential L's that I wouldn't go after the potential W's, because the chance that I'd try and I'd fail, and I take that so personally, it was so scary. I can overcome it. And so I wanted to do my own company for years, but I spent 7 years in the corporate workforce as a cog in the machine before I ever left to do my own thing. Because I was so scared, if I do this and it fails, I'm going to feel like such a loser.
But if you don't do it and you never know what could have happened, you'd be regretting it forever.
Yes. And so I think for me, weirdly, in order to get the chance to chase after the W, I had to tell myself, getting the L doesn't mean I'm an L. It just meant, hey, I put in my work and it just happened to be an L this time.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's actually necessary. You're not going to, there's like some like freaks of nature like Floyd Mayweather who have never lost a match in their life. But behind the scenes, I'm sure they got their ass beat a lot of times when they're practicing, when they're warming up, when they were young, when they were little. And you just see it when it mattered the most. They had the clutch, right? They made it work exactly when it counted, but they put in the work behind the hours. And I'm sure every single professional competitor has done that in some regard.
Let's do a level 3. I think we're ready, Juan.
Yeah.
You choose it.
I'm gonna choose it. Let's do the guy in front. Reflection. Why do you think we met? Wow. And I like how it doesn't really show like what's the exact reason, just why. It's up to you to interpret that question.
I think there's 2 parts to this.
Okay.
I think the first part was actually you as Hbox. Because I said growing up for me, Smash and video games were my third place. When I was depressed and all I was doing was studying, the one thing I got to do outside of that was play video games. And all the friends I made was playing Super Smash Bros. Melee. And I wanted to be good. I wanted to be good enough so people still wanted to play with me. Because I was scared and worried if I wasn't good enough, they wouldn't even want to play with me. And I'd just be alone. And so I started researching online how to get good, as they say. That's how I came on Smash boards. That's how I came on Game FAQs. That's how I learned to study. Wow, all these different things and parts about the game. That's why I learned about you. And so part of it is because growing up, I wanted to get good so I could play with people. And you were someone who was really, really good. And that's why when I met you, we were at Alexandra Botez's test party together, right? And I saw you. That's like, oh my God, it's Hbox. And I think the second reason is getting to know you as Juan. I had to find my internal mission or journey behind Karat outside of the business context, because that's never enough to take you through the L's.
Right.
And for me, that part of the journey, the process is getting to work with people who are figuring out their own path the same way I am and trying to make something for the world. And I feel like I have gotten to listen to you way beyond, oh, it's just HBox. Like how you've dealt with those pressures, how you've gone and done that, how you handle yourself today. I find that inspiring. And I'm grateful for our friendship. And I feel I'm going to walk away today having learned something, having walking away, you know, be like, wow, HBox, like he is spending his third place today with me. Like that is a huge honor and responsibility and makes me feel more connected to you. And so I think part of it was because very tactically, this is how I knew you initially. And then getting to know you better has been rewarding and reminds me, and I think this is why it's important. Reminds me of why there's the personal element for why I care about Karat outside just the business outcome.
Gotcha. That was well stated, man.
Yeah, no, I had to think about. I hadn't thought about this before, man.
Yeah,
like
this is a hard
like
one.
why did I go on Smash Bros, man? It's because I never said this before. I was afraid if I wasn't good enough, nobody would want to play with me, and then I'd have no friends. Yeah,
and I would have just said I think we met because we both knew how important something like Smash was, not just as a game, but to remedy everything else going on in our lives. And I think it was only a matter of time before we met.
I love that. What for you? How did you come across Smash? Was it just...
I was a completionist. I would take every game that I ever owned, and I couldn't move on to the next one until I beat it 100%. Yeah. So Game Boy Advance, GameCube, Nintendo was mainly my thing.
Yeah.
And Melee was just the next one in the line at some point. You had to get all the trophies, and one of the trophies was Mew, beat All-Star Mode and very hard without losing.
Wow, I don't think I even ever got Mew.
And I didn't even know who my main character was by then, but I thought, well, I remember Jigglypuff, doesn't she restore HP in Pokemon by sleeping? And I used the sleep move in Smash, and it did nothing.
Yep.
So she's not restoring HP. This move sucks. And I just noticed, like, my brother down the hall happened to be playing Smash 64, and I turned to the right. This is a true story. Turned to the right, and I was walking to the bathroom, and I saw him land a rest with Puff in that millisecond. Like,
your mind.
It changed that ripple effect. Like, changed the rest of my life. And I'm like, that move does that.
I love that, and I feel that's something we don't get to do as much when it's all online.
Yeah.
Like I remember for me, the first times playing Smash, I remember playing Smash 64 on the N64 and seeing someone play Link. And dude, I didn't know B moves existed.
I know.
Because I was like a kid, right? I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, right?
You get humbled. You're like,
I thought it was only standard. I only thought it was only A moves. And so he's playing Link and he started to pull it. Like, remember down B is bomb, right?
Yeah.
Like B, the hook.
The Kirby rock.
Yeah, all of those. And so for the longest time, I started to play Link because I thought that was the only character that could do special moves.
Well, in a way, they are kind of special, huh? They're projectiles.
Yeah,
so, like,
actually, that's true. In the whole history of Smash, before at least Ultimate, where I think projectiles took it much more, in Melee and earlier, I mean, Samus, but like Falco lasers.
You had Snake and Brawl too.
Snake and Brawl.
Very projectile based character, but in Melee, it's a melee. It's a fight, right?
It's a fight.
So you had some projectiles like maybe Sheik Needle, the Falco laser, but Link was like his whole kit was using those projectiles wisely.
Which partly is probably why he's relatively lower on the tier list.
Yeah, but some people have been making him work, let me tell you.
I remember, early days, it was the Germ, and then it was Japanese player, Aniki.
Aniki, yeah.
Aniki, and I remember...
There was a guy named Sauce from Canada, Six from Germany.
Sauce with the 3.
And now it was Aklo from New York.
Yeah.
He just destroyed me online with Link.
That's insane.
Like me with Link. I was like, holy
low tier heroes. All right, this time I'm gonna pull level 3. I'm gonna ask you.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, this is a wild card. We don't do wild cards. All right.
That's level 1.
Oh, I was gonna say this didn't feel like a level 3. All right, level 3. Well, let's both answer this one, okay? What do you think my weakness is?
Oh my God.
You go first, and then I'm gonna answer for you. What do you think my weakness is?
Oh man, that one's tough. That one's tough because we're friends, but I've only known you like a year.
Yeah.
So if I had to pinpoint a weakness of yours, I get the vibe that the impressions of other people on your business or maybe you as a person I get the vibe that if it's a negative impression, that hurts you a lot.
You cut right to it, man. Man, that was wow.
That's the vibe I got.
Juan, you gave all the Johns early on. You're like, oh, I've only known for no, man. You cut deep. I am terrified of not being liked. 100%.
Same, brother.
Growing up, man, I didn't have friends, and my parents only praised me when I did good things and accomplished things. And so I have a deep fear of just dying alone and not having people who recognize me as Eric, not having friends. And that to me, and I moved around a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
So there's that unconscious part of me always, one I can't turn off. Oh God, does he like me? Am I doing a good job?
You get imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Like,
scarier than any failure, any company or tournament loss. That's the scariest thing.
Even with you now, I'm like, oh man, like I got to make sure Juan doesn't hate me. And I am learning true relationships and friendships are built when you can be real with each other. And so I'm openly telling you, man, like I'm afraid you don't like me. I'm afraid people don't like me. The same way I learned Smash, I just wanted to have friends.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone wants to be loved. That's just the golden rule at the end of the day. It's why we do anything, I think, at the very, very base.
So you said this is true for you too. You also think about, do people like me?
Yeah. I was winning tournaments, and I started, when I was winning too much, I noticed it was actually making less people like me. And I won a tournament called Big House 7, and the audience just slowly dissipated away, and like no applause or anything. And I'm just like, what the f*** am I doing?
What was this for?
Yeah, like, why am I doing this? Wait, like, I'm not happy. What? Like, I just did an amazing, huge run, beat all the best players in the world back to back, and everyone hates me for it. I'm just like, what the f*** am I doing here? I don't belong here.
How could people be so mean?
It's it's not even their faults. I think we're wired in a certain way.
I remember reading, I didn't see the set, but I remember reading about that guy throwing that crab on the stage or whatever.
Yeah, that was bitter, huh?
I just remember thinking, I think that's another reason why, before I got to know you as Juan, I gravitated toward you as HBox. Like man, the haters, the haters.
And yet I owe them, because the guy who threw that crab, that was the opening moment and the reason that a guy from UF made a documentary about me called There Will Never, Ever Be Another Player Like Hungrybox, which got 8 million views on YouTube and led to a massive rise in all of my content and streaming, and gave me the potential to live and full-time be content.
So you have the gratitude as well.
Oh, I love the guy. I thank him.
Wow.
And I forgive him. Yeah.
That's strong, man.
Just a crab.
Just a crab. For you, how do you handle that anxiety? Hey, I want to be liked. What have you learned to sit with that? What do you do with that now?
Now that I'm 29, I've felt it a lot more this year. I feel especially a lot more liked now, a lot more love than I ever have in Smash. And I realized when I stopped chasing it is when it came to me.
Wow.
Same thing with maybe falling in love with someone or a relationship. When you chase, it doesn't feel like what it should be. But when you focus on what you do love and you do your own thing, I think you naturally like emanate an energy that maybe attracts people towards you. I've noticed that.
It's almost like
you have to not just want it.
It's like, because if you just want the love, then you're not honoring the person. You're just looking for that emotional connection.
Yeah, you're chasing like a high almost. You're chasing, like when you have a headache, you go for the nearest ibuprofen, right? Or sometimes people have ways of coping when they're sad, right? Some people drink, some people work out, some people need to go outside and breathe and look at the sun for a bit.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do is figure out the way to get that by not depending on anyone else or any other thing, right? Like you find it from in here, and when you can cope on that on yourself, people notice that.
And that's you finding yourself.
Yeah.
In a way, ironically, has then brought more of that people liking and loving you.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's how the world works. They can sense you know yourself more, and then you're not just going for that.
Last night, it was a weird metaphor, but last night I was just rewatching, like my editor, Chia, she uploaded a video of me finally finishing this big challenge called the Iron Man on YouTube, of where you have to win an online game with every character in Melee in a row without losing once, called the Iron Man. And in the moment when I was playing, I'm just like, I'm playing kind of okay. And I finally won, like, yeah, I got it. Months later, I look back at that video and I'm just like looking at it and I'm just understanding all of a sudden why people, when they see me or something like that, it says it does something for them. It inspires them. It says like, I look up to and all that. I've never understood when people said they look up to me. I've never understood people said I was an inspiration. I really haven't. Like, sure, I'm good at a video game, but why? But then when I looked back at the video and I saw it, I realized that's a guy who's like in love with what he does.
The passion.
He's in love with what he does. And I was like, for the first time in a while, I felt like an outsider watching myself. So
I love that. I think for you, it's two sides of the same coin. That anxiety that you've also felt about wanting to feel liked, that's actually your strength, because that is why you were able to emotionally connect with me. That's why you're able to emotionally connect with other people.
Sure.
That's why when you go and you did that Ironman and people can watch, you have the wherewithal to recognize why they felt that way. It's because of your ability to feel that fear that you are strong and have the ability to connect.
Yeah. You look down on yourself too. And if you're like me, and which you seem to be, you probably had, and especially growing up, some form of self-esteem issues, right?
Dude, I still have self-esteem issues.
Sure, and I do too. Yeah.
We're at a point, I mean, Juan, I'm 31 now.
Yeah.
And so to your point, 29, I think we've gone to a certain age where we can just admit it.
yeah, we can. So I think we realize it's like everyone low-key lives the same life, just with a different seed, I guess, right?
It's like, oh, you care about what people think. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, God, imagine that.
Yep, I do. I know.
You know, and there's some people out there who say they truly don't. Like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says about me. And you know what? They probably don't, but there is that one person that they kind of, their opinion hits them, right? Might be a dad, might be a significant other, might be your brother, the person they love the most. You know?
Whose feeling and impressions of you do you care about the most, actually?
Oh, who was the person?
You opened yourself up to that question.
Oh, man. I would say like, if my best friend says I'm up, that's when I wake up. I'm just like, okay, I need to stop.
Wow.
If he says that, that's when it's real.
Have they ever said that before?
Oh yeah, Crunch, my coach.
Yeah,
we've known each other since we were 10 years old. He has before, and I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? You know. Also, you have relationships. You have like girlfriends. You have ex-girlfriends, and then in the hindsight, you can understand why the things worked, why the things didn't work, and you learn about yourself in that process too, right? A lot of time, when anything doesn't work out, right? Could be a company, could be a deal, even, right, with people, and you look back and you're like, why didn't that work? Was that on them or was that on me? And sometimes it's neither. Sometimes it's just the way people interact, but sometimes you have to realize and learn from it and be like, no, I shouldn't have said this. I could have done this a lot better. I should have brought this up. I shouldn't have brought that up. I should have been more open. There's a lot of things that you can look back on and realize, had I just done this, the situation would be a lot more different right now.
What's the biggest, when you think through that for yourself, you're like, hey, something I could have done differently. What do you think of?
Thought less about myself and more about them first.
The ego.
Letting go of the ego.
I think it really ties to what you said around you felt a lot more love in your life when you were able to find more assuredness and confidence in yourself.
Right.
Because when you are more secure in yourself, the ego needs less attention, leaving more for you to share with others. It's like that saying, you can't love others till you love yourself.
And we do this thing where you chase validation, right? And you're like, are people like me? Are people enjoying this? And then the people who are the most validated are the ones who don't care about the validation. It is such a beautiful, it's so perfect the way that
I love it.
system is, right?
The way to get the W is to not care about the W. It's to care about the journey of being the best. It's the journey. It's to care about the passion. To care about the passion about what you're doing and who you are. That's how you get the W.
Eric, do you know what caused me to finally get rank 1?
No.
Because I had been top 5 for a while, and then I was like top 2 for a while, and I could never quite get it. In 2017, after like I had a horrible fallout from like my college relationship, I told Team Liquid, please send me to as many events as you possibly can. I don't want to be at home. I don't want to think about this. As many as you can. They said, sure. Do you have some in mind? And I had 11 events in a row lined up, back-to-back weekends. And I went to every single one, and I won every single one.
It's almost like Zen mode. You have forgotten everything but the game.
Because I wasn't like I have to win. It was more so like I have to put my mind into something else.
I have to play.
Yes, that's what mattered more. As long as I was playing, that's what I wanted. F the result. I just wanted to play. And I did. And I blinked, and I was in a different city. And then I was in Miami, and then I was in Detroit. And that's that big House 7 win when I turned around, everyone's walking away. And that was weeks later. I'm at Smash Summit, and it's Grand Finals versus Armada, and it's Game 5. And I'm there just playing. And I remember every time Armada had beaten me, I get so angry. Like, God, I had it. I was right there. But in that moment, for the first time, I just said, I'm just happy I'm playing against you right now. That's what I said. I'm just happy I'm here and not back where I was. And then I looked up, and it said game. And the set was over. And I hear clapping. And I'm just like, wait, that's rank 1. I just locked it. Because whoever won that was rank 1. It was like undisputed. And I turned to Lewis, and he's just like, you did it. And I gave him a hug. I started crying. I'm just like, holy shit. That just happened. It just happened. The one time I didn't even care about it happening, it's when it finally happened.
I think it's beautiful. I think that's the goodest place to end as any game.
Yeah. It's you accepting not the result, but the moment.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Juan, thank you so much.
Of course, man. Awesome.
This has been... Give me a hug. Give me a hug.
Oh, of course. That was a great talk.
Oh, I loved it.
That was great.